Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilor.
Hi, City Manager Reimer, how are you?
Good. How are you two?
Doing all right.
Good.
Good evening, Councilor Goodhouse.
Hi there.
Hello.
Councilor Goodhouse, you see we have a water meeting coming up, the 20th of June, LOT meeting?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Should be good.
Hello, Council President Lube.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Youth Councilor Nog.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. No,
You
the
ready?
end of the season is
I
coming
was
up.
gonna say, are you ready for the school year to be over?
Yeah, I mean, finals week is slowly coming up, but other than that, I'm super excited.
Now, we're still waiting on Councilor Shaw, correct? Okay. All right. Oh, there we go. We got Councilor Shaw. All right, so Mr. Nullup, you said we're clear to start? All right, I will call this Tigard City Council meeting to order. City Recorder, please call roll.
Councilor Goodhouse,
Here.
Councilor Newton,
Here,
Council President Lube,
Here.
Councilor Shaw,
Here.
Mayor Snyder,
Here.
and Youth Councilor Nog.
Here.
All right, Mr. Nullup, can you put the flag up on the screen? I'll ask everyone to mute themselves and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. And the next thing I'd like to do is just call for a moment of reflection and silence for the victims of gun violence, both in New York earlier this month and then in Texas today, and then all others that have been impacted by gun violence in 2022. So I'd ask for your participation in that for a few moments. All right, thank you. On that somber note, let's check for any non-agenda items, staff or council.
None from us, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Move on to item number 2 on the agenda, proclamations and recognition, and Assistant City Manager Nyland. I believe you are presenting a proclamation proclaiming June as Pride Month.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Yes, Pride Month is celebrated every June as a tribute to those who were involved in the Stonewall riots. The city of Tigard has recognized the importance of this month for the past several years, and at times when so many differences are dividing us, this proclamation is even more important. We are working to be a city where everyone can be their true self, a city that welcomes all and provides a sense of belonging. And if a proclamation wasn't enough to mark the occasion, we hope that you've marked June 12th on your calendars as Tigard is holding its second Pride Parade. More details in the coming days and weeks will be provided. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you for discussion.
All right, thank you, Assistant City Manager Nyland. I will just point out that the council meeting guide does not include any actual vote or action on this, at least in the meeting guide. So I'm hoping someone can work through making a motion. Council President Lube.
I'm happy to proclaim June as Pride Month. To move to proclaim June as Pride Month.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilor Shaw. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'm very excited about the event planned for June 12th. I've already registered to participate. With that, anyone else want to share anything on this topic before we vote on the proclamation? All right, Deputy City Recorder, please conduct a roll call vote and start with an advisory vote for Youth Councilor Nog.
Youth Councilor Nog,
Yes.
Councilor Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councilor Newton,
Yes.
Council President Lube,
Yes.
Councilor Shaw,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Okay, we have proclaimed June as Pride Month. Thank you, Assistant City Manager Nyland. Appreciate your presentation on that, and look forward to the community event on June 12th. We'll move on to public comments. Anyone that wishes to do so may call in to the meeting at 503-966-4101. Those with general comments should call to get in the queue now. And with that, Assistant City Manager Nyland, is there any follow-up to previous public comment?
I was doing jazz hands while you guys were approving it, just to be a little bit festive. So public comment, though I was not present at last week's council meeting, I do have some follow-up. 2 public comments were received. The first was from a community member questioning or requesting a ban on fireworks this summer. And the second comment was asking for an ordinance change about roosters and placing a limit on the number of chickens that were allowed per residence. Both community members received a response and were informed about upcoming meetings and ongoing conversations for future dates. And there were no callers at last week's council meeting.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager Nyland.
You are welcome. That's my report for tonight. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to written public comment. Deputy Recorder Raimundo, I don't think we had any written public comment. Did I miss something?
No, you did not miss anything. We did not have any public comment come in.
All right, we'll move on to phone-in public comment. Mr. Nolup, are there any callers in the queue?
Mr. Mayor, there's no callers at this time.
All right. Let me know if that changes, but I think we gave adequate time there. We'll move on to the consent agenda for the Local Contract Review Board. The consent agenda is used for routine items, including approval of meeting minutes, contracts, or intergovernmental agreements. Information on each item is available on the city's website in the packet for this meeting. These items may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Council members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. Tonight on the consent agenda is a pavement management program preventive maintenance slurry seal contract. And that is the only thing on the consent agenda. So is there a motion? Council President Lube.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, Deputy Recorder Raimundo, roll call, please. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Goodhouse,
Yes.
Counselor Newton,
Yes.
Council President Lube,
Yes.
Counselor Shaw,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right, the consent agenda is adopted unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is to discuss 2022 Festival of Balloons funding. City Manager Reimer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, good evening, Mayor, councilors, members of the community, and my team that's here tonight. We were very excited to learn, and hopefully all of you were as well, that the Tigard Festival Balloon is returning in June 24 through 26th of this year. As you know, this has been a premier signature event of our community since 2004, with the last event happening in 2019. Obviously, the break was due to the COVID-19 pandemic that has been plaguing our community, region, state, and further than that. Recently, we had an opportunity to sit down with Cindy Murphy, who's the executive director of the event, and discuss many changes that have occurred. There has been a change to their structure as well as their finances for the event, obviously coming out of the COVID pandemic. And there's just been a price and cost escalation in many things that they're planning to do for our community and the thousands of visitors that come here. So in our discussions, we talked about how we could potentially fund and help them this year. There is nothing in the current budget because the pandemic was going on last year as well, and there was not an application for funding. But historically, that's ranged from $10,000 to $20,000 annually. What we are bringing forward tonight is a recommendation to fund $65,000 from our transient lodging tax for this event for this year. If the council approves it, our plan would be to then work with Cindy and all the organizers after the fact to evaluate the success of the event this year, evaluate the finances to determine what future funding requests may look like. And so tonight we're really here for just 2022 funding at the amount of $65,000. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
There's a little bit of context I want to add too, and that is that I think Cindy understands that the while there's maybe a short-term need to help in a more significant way this year and perhaps some of next year, given that they're already kind of behind for planning next year, even that she's aware, and I think it's important for our community to know that they understand that it needs to really be able to self-support and sustain itself over time. And they're committed to making that happen. But given the current circumstances with COVID, et cetera, I think this is a reasonable community step to take to sort of re-energize the balloon festival. So I just want to add that context. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, my technology is a little wonky tonight. I think this is an absolute amazing event, and I participated and attended for many years. Wondering if the additional, since it's, you said originally 10 to 20K, it's now 65, so it's about a 40K delta. Is there going to be room for also celebrating the 60th anniversary for the city of Tigard?
Thank you for that question, Councillor. So we've been working with Cindy and her team. Kent Wyatt has taken the lead on talking about how we can incorporate the 60th into this event as one way of celebrating. As you know, we were able to celebrate virtually last year, but not have any events. And so we're trying to look at opportunities like this. They very much agreed to working with us and finding ways of really celebrating Tigard as a whole community and the 60th that we just had last year.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Newton.
Yeah, just really quick. Yeah, I know this is an adjustment year for the organization, and I appreciate the comment you made, Mr. Mayor, about giving them some space to reconfigure their finances. I also, you did point this out, City Manager Reimer, but this funding does come from transient lodging tax, and I think this is an appropriate use of those funds. So just wanted to make sure to echo that. So yeah, I think it's a great event. So I think our community is going to be thrilled to see it back.
Councillor Newton, I think part of your point too, which the community may be missing, is that the transient lodging tax funding cannot be used for just anything. So the fact that it's eligible for that is important.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that clarification. Thanks.
Council President Lube.
Thank you. I think it's a perfect use for the transient lodge tax, which is to bring in, members from other communities into Tigard. And this is such a wonderful event that I know so many people outside of Tigard, as well as, our Tigard community loves to go to. So I'm excited to go, and I'm excited that, this event is back. And I understand that, we're spending a little bit more this year, but I foresee it being a great event, and a lot of people are really excited just looking at the results of what people are saying when they announced it was back. People are very excited about this, so I think it's a wise use of the transient lodging tax money, so I support it this year.
All right, Councillor Shaw, I see your hand up, but I'm wondering if it's technology or if you would like to say more.
No, Mayor, it's technology, and I may actually at a good breaking time log off and try logging back on.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we, City Manager Reimer, are you asking us to act on this, or were you wanting to brief us at a council meeting, or what is I know you've had informal discussions with members of the council, but do you have a specific action tonight?
Yeah, I would ask that you make a motion to approve the use of $65,000 of transient lodging tax. As you know, our formal process is this will come back in a supplemental where we'll make the budget adjustments. But I think for us to be able to provide the funding ahead of that, we'd appreciate that motion and vote tonight.
Okay. Is there a motion? Council President Lube?
I move to approve the use of $65,000 in transient lodging tax for the Tigard Balloon Festival in the year 2020.
2022.
Thank you. I'm sorry. It's been a really long day.
Just making sure.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Deputy Recorder Raimundo, roll call vote, please.
Councillor Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councillor Newton,
Yes.
Council President Lube,
Yes.
Councillor Shaw,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Enthusiastic, yes. All
and
right.
Youth Council. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Youth Councillor Nug.
Yes.
All right. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We're going to move on to item number 6 on the agenda, Cedarbrook Annexation and Site Development Review. At the last meeting, council tentatively approved this ordinance and directed findings be prepared. Tonight, we are going to be voting on the ordinance, which includes those findings. Want to make sure the entire council received the written materials that were provided, I think, yesterday morning, might have been late last week. I know I've seen them and reviewed them. Does anyone have any further questions or concerns about that we need to address before a vote or a motion? And I see Councillor Shaw. Okay, Councillor Shaw is back. Sorry about that. All right. So is someone ready to make a motion on ordinance number 22-04? Council President Lube?
I move to approve ordinance number 22-04.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Ordinance number 22-04, an ordinance annexing 3 parcels of land totaling approximately 2.90 acres and 1/2 of the adjoining Southwest Hall Boulevard right-of-way, approving the Cedar Brook annexation ZCA 2021-00001 and withdrawing properties from the Washington County Enhanced Sheriff's Patrol District and Washington County Urban Road Maintenance District. The ordinance also approves a site development review, SDR 2021-00001, for the construction of a new assisted living and memory care facility.
All right, thank you. And Councilor Goodhouse, I saw your hand raised while that was being read. Do you have a comment or a question?
I was just going to reiterate for maybe people that didn't watch the last meeting, just that with a quasi judicial, we had a lot of public testimony, and the only way we could, based off that testimony, just to repeat, make any changes was if it went against our code or anything like that, and just to remind those watching that we have to act as basically a judge in the situation and vote based off of our code on this. So I just wanted to do a reminder really quick on that.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion on the table. It's been seconded. The City Recorder has read the entirety of the title of the resolution. And I think we now need a roll call vote. City Recorder.
Councilor Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councilor Newton,
Yes.
Council President Lube,
Yes.
Councilor Shaw,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right. Ordinance number 22-04 is adopted unanimously. Thank you, staff, for your work on that. And with that, we're going to move on to item number 7 on the agenda, which is a legislative public hearing ordinance related to the regulation of fireworks. And I will start by opening the public hearing. Hearing procedures, anyone that wants to testify may do so. The way to do that is going to be by phone, and you may call to get into the queue now. Phone number to call is 503-966-4101. Again, 503-966-4101. And with that, we'll go to the city attorney for staff report.
Good evening, Council. So this is a follow-up to your discussion from the April 26th Council meeting. At that meeting, you directed staff to come back with an ordinance relating to fireworks. There are 2 parts to this ordinance. The first part is prohibiting illegal fireworks. So these are fireworks that are already illegal under state law. Right now, there are limited abilities to enforce the current state regulations, the current state statute. Most of this is because of prosecutorial discretion, that this just doesn't rise to the level of being prosecuted unless there's damage to person or property. The other is that it's very difficult for our police department to actually respond to these and catch somebody lighting off or in possession of these fireworks. So the municipal code will expand the prohibitions, the prohibited conduct. It will expand what is covered. It will also significantly increase the penalty. That was one of the other requests by City Council, is that it be more of a deterrent factor. And so we have set a presumptive fine of $1,000 and a not to exceed amount of $1,500. This still gives the municipal court judge discretion Based on the circumstances, she can lower it, but the not to exceed amount of $1,500 will cap that penalty. It also sets a rebuttable presumption that a person in control of property has permitted the conduct. Again, this is one of the problems that the police department has had, where they show up to a place, there's a bunch of people outside, fireworks laying around, nobody is actually holding an illegal firework. So if they've gotten reports of fireworks being lit from that house, this gives them a little bit more authority to be able to issue a citation for that. The second part is temporary prohibitions during extreme fire danger during red flag conditions. So these are times that the National Weather Service has declared a red flag condition, which is an extreme fire danger warning. So during those limited times, no person could sell or use any fireworks in the city. So again, this is just temporary during the time period for which there are red flag conditions in existence. This does exempt the professionally licensed or professionally permitted shows. Under state statute, if the fire marshal has issued a permit for a professional display, those could still be allowed to go on in consultation with TVFNR. The state fire marshal does have the authority, based on extreme weather conditions or extreme risk, to regulate those. And so there is still a check on those if conditions are really dangerous. And again, a relatively steep fine to act as a deterrent. So those are the changes. This will create a new chapter of Tigard Municipal Code, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, City Attorney Rahala. Are there any questions? This is not time for deliberation, so just to be clear, questions on the ordinance or the City Attorney's presentation? All right, we'll move on to public testimony. I don't believe we received any written public comments, but Deputy Recorder Raimundo, can you confirm that, please?
It's correct. We haven't received any.
All right. Mr. Nollup, are there any callers in the queue to testify?
No callers, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Probably no response to testimony by staff. I'm going to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I had a quick question. We were contacted by TNT, or at least there was an email sent to council mail. Does that, I mean, that wasn't in the form of a public comment, it was in response to our meeting and feedback. Does that count or not count?
I don't think
within?
We can ask the city attorney. It was weeks ago and it was not in response to the public hearing that we had posted. So I think that's what we're going to hear. But City Attorney Rahala, do you want to clarify that?
That's correct. It was communicated to council. The content of it is really a policy decision for council. I don't have any specific responses to it. We did, as staff, take it under consideration. But again, the request is just different than what we're proposing tonight, and that's ultimately a policy decision for council.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. We're at the point of consideration of the ordinance. This is ordinance 22-05. I think we had a substantial policy discussion about a month ago, but we can certainly, now that we've got something in writing, we can certainly consider it. I think it's responsive to what we'd asked staff to prepare, just generally speaking. So Councillor Newton, and then we'll go to Councillor Goodhouse.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, City Attorney Rahala. It does reflect what we talked about a month or so ago. The only comment I would make is I contacted staff about making sure that we do very, 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 very robust communication to the public about this, and not for our approval, but I wouldn't mind seeing something, just a one sheet, as to how the team intends to communicate this. I think people may be disappointed about the red flag warning days, but I think it's critical that if we're in that situation, we need to respond appropriately. And let's hope we don't have any this summer, but if we do, I think all bets are off and we need to be, we need to be careful about what we do. And I do think it's appropriate for us to regulate more critically just out and out illegal fireworks. So I think this does reflect what we proposed, what we talked about. And again, I just hope that our communication to the community is very robust so people know what to expect. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Newton. I agree with the public communication aspects of your comments and would emphasize those. Councillor Goodhouse.
Thank you. I'm, as Councillor Newton, I'm supportive of everything in there. There's still the one part I'm not supportive of is the part with the sales, especially when we're talking about nonprofits, especially since a lot of those will months and months in advance will order those fireworks. And especially with this coming up in July, many of them have most likely ordered a lot of those. And if something does happen again this year, where we do have the red flag warning, with them not be able to sell it, that could be a huge setback or even put them in the hole. And so I can't be supportive of it with that part with as far as the sales. As we know, I mean, Oregon doesn't have illegal fireworks yet. There's all kinds of around us. So easily people can go to Washington or go other places to get those. And for me, if a red flag warning pops up one day and then people have to stop selling or take things off the shelf, and then a couple of days later it's gone and they put them back on the shelves or can start selling again, I think there's a lot of confusion. As with Councillor Newton said, with a robust education campaign, I think that if we focus on enough of a education campaign, then people will understand that if there is a red flag warning, they can't use those they purchase, but still can support those nonprofits that set up. As far as, I think it's still the high school band, there's a lot of churches or nonprofits up and down 99W or at Tigard High parking lot that really sell those and rely on those, and probably are relying on those this year. So I'd like that part removed as far as the sales and just more robust. It's something even where, those that sell them could post something that says, in event of a red flag warning, you cannot use these as just more of an education purpose.
Thank you, Councillor Goodhouse, and I'll ask other members of the council. I know that a month ago when we had this discussion, there was not additional support for Councillor Goodhouse's perspective, but I want to recheck and make sure that we know where each of you are at. So Councillor Shaw, you were next to speak, and if you want to comment on that at some point in your comments, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I would like just a moment to think about that one, but I actually just want to reiterate Councillor Newton's comment about communication, and also just thank City Attorney Rahala for putting this together. I know it was not easy, and just want to thank her for putting that together. And let me think about that, and I'll get back to raising my hand again, Mayor.
You bet. Thank you. I was only asking you because you were next to speak. So we'll go back to Council President Lube. Has your perspective changed from a month ago on that?
I struggle with it. I struggle because I certainly see Councillor Goodhouse's point, and I really feel for people and groups who are trying to fundraise off of this, but I just look at how confusing the message would be for people to be able to buy fireworks and not use them. And I think in any case, anybody who should be selling fireworks should actually have the notification up in a red flag warning in the city of Tigard. You can't use this, whether, regardless of the conditions, because you never know what's going to happen. But I think having them for sale at the same time is just really confusing. And regardless of what kind of communication we have, I think it would be difficult to overcome that.
Thank you. Youth Councillor Nog, do you have, not necessarily, sorry, I didn't call on you earlier, but do you have any perspective you want to share, including input on any part of this?
Ideally, I was looking more towards like a fireworks ban for the summer because of the drought-like conditions and the fire warnings that I've been seeing and hearing about in the news. But since that's not an option, I do like the idea of the proposed policy. And the thing about the warnings is that I don't know how safe it is for people in Tigard if they like have the fireworks. I don't know how we're going to exactly like enforce that, but it's a good message to get out beforehand, especially on like those red flag days, I guess it wouldn't be that helpful to sell the fireworks because it would also send the wrong message and it would be hard to enforce that as well.
Thank you, Youth Councilor Nog. Councilor Newton, do you have more you want to share?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I echo Council President Loob's comments. I think it could be very confusing if people are allowed to buy fireworks on red flag days, but then they can't use them. I can envision a situation where somebody said, well, I was able to buy them, so why can't I use them, even if the seller has notices up. So, and I don't, remember a lot of 4th of Julys where we had red flag warnings. So I'm hoping we don't have one, but I just think out of an abundance of caution, I know it's difficult, but I think it's the safest thing to do is to prohibit both the sale and use on red flag days, just on red flag days.
All right, so we'll go to Councilor Shaw for her input, and then we'll go back to Councilor Goodhouse.
Okay, I would have to agree. I would prohibit the sale and the use also on red flag warning days. Okay,
thank you. Councilor Goodhouse, you had your hand up again.
Yes, and whichever way the vote goes, it just I think also a solution for the city would be to whatever way we get that message out, whether or not we use the kind of the Code Red app or something like that, where a kind of emergency notification goes out to the public, where it clearly states what's happening. So, I mean, as a solution, then maybe get rid of the confusion for people that are buying it. It could be part of a message that goes out and says, red flag warning in effect. No firework use can be done at all, and that might help with clarification. But whichever way this goes, I think that we should also tap into that system because not everyone looks at the city's social media or websites or looks at the paper. But the more people that do subscribe to the phone system that can get the emergency alert, which it is an emergency, I think would be great. And I don't know if that changes anyone's minds or not, but that would be a great way to really clarify that says, even though fireworks are for sale, they are not allowed to be used during this time. And that could be a simple, I mean, most people when they get things on the phones, they pay attention to that and they'll read what that is and they share it a lot more. So it could be a solution, but either way, I think we need to make sure that's put into effect if we happen to have another red flag warning.
All right, so more robust or feedback about robust community communication. All right, is there more discussion or a motion? Anyone? It's probably not going to come from Councilor Goodhouse.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 22-05.
All right, Council President Luke. Okay.
Sorry, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, City Recorder, read the number and title of the resolution.
Ordinance number 22-05, an ordinance relating to the regulation of fireworks within the city of Tigard.
And City Recorder roll call vote, starting with Youth Councilor Nog for an advisory vote.
Youth Councilor Nog.
Yes.
Councilor Goodhouse.
I'm voting no out of concern of nonprofits that would have purchased fireworks could be affected by this.
Councilor Newton.
Yes.
Council President Lube.
Yes.
Councilor Shaw.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right. Ordinance number 22-05 is adopted 4-1. Yes. All right. Thank you, staff. City Attorney, thank you. And I know it wasn't just you, but I know you led that, so thank you. Let's see, we have no non-agenda items. City Manager Reimer, do you have an administrative report?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor and councilors. to start in about 2.5 weeks, more specifically from 5 p.m. on Friday, June 10th through 3 o'clock on Monday, June 13th. We're gonna have a road closure on Bonita as the Portland and Western Railroad does work on that crossing there. And so just for your information, D&H will be putting up reader boards about a week in advance, communicating that to our community. We've reviewed the traffic control plans, but we do still expect some impacts, obviously, during that weekend. But just so you know, and we'll do our best to make sure the community is informed as well. On the library note, a lot of fun and exciting things happening as we've been talking about. Reading is in full swing in our summer reading program. It's just around the corner. We're going to be signing up thousands of kids and teens and families, and we're going to have a kickoff live concert next Wednesday, right? June 1st at 6:30 in the library backyard by Chica Marimba is going to be playing their blend of African and Latin music. Like I said, it starts at 6:30. Bring your chairs. Hopefully we'll bring the nice weather. And just a great way to kind of start to kick off the summer season, as well as all the good things and great things that are happening at our community's library. On that same line of thinking, in-person family story time is back. This is going to start the following day on June 2nd at 10:15 a.m. And we will have in the library backyard as well for that. And then last but not least, the There and Back Again Walking Book Club is going to start leading community members in hybrid walking book club on the first Saturday of each month from 10:30 to noon. They're going to go along Fannel Creek Trail and then at the end come together and discuss the book as well. So just a lot of different creative ways of engaging our community in all the different things that are happening at the community's library. And with that, that concludes my remarks for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Reimer. I believe that concludes our business for the evening. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn here.
I'll second that.
All right, I saw, all right, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Newton, you look like you wanted to say something. Did I misread that?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor, really quick. City Manager Reimer, the Universal Plaza groundbreaking is this week, correct? Or next week? This week? This Thursday?
This week. Yep.
Right, okay. Got so many things going. So, okay, 5:30 in Universal Plaza, right?
Yep, right.
Yeah,
Yep,
got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, we have a motion and a second. City Recorder, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councilor Newton,
Yes.
Council President Lube,
Yes.
Councilor Shaw,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right, we are adjourned. Good night, Tiger.
Night.